Imagine a place where a handful of individuals hold more influence than nations, where a single decision can make or break careers, and where the pursuit of power can lead to success, but often also to corruption and downfall. Welcome to Hollywood. From the rise of monsters like Weinstein, Cosby, and more recently P. Diddy, to the secrets behind closed doors that molded careers, Hollywood can be seen as a place of dreams, but it's also a place of unchecked power. What happens when fame becomes dangerous? What price do we pay as a society for elevating these individuals to near godlike status? This more recent P. Diddy scandal once again brings the discussions about the dangers of stardom back to the limelight. Today, we're pulling back the curtain to explore how power in Hollywood corrupts its victims, its consequences, and the dark side of fame. The ongoing P. Diddy scandal, where over 120 individuals have come forward with allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct, is a stark example of how unchecked power in Hollywood can lead to exploitation and harm. Diddy's position as a music mogul gave him immense influence over aspiring artists, enabling him to manipulate and victimize individuals with promises of fame and success. This reflects a broader pattern seen in Hollywood, where powerful figures also use their power to silence victims and evade accountability for years. The P. Diddy situation is yet another reminder of the dangers of elevating individuals to positions of untouchable power in entertainment. When fame becomes synonymous with impunity, it perpetuates a culture of abuse that alters society's perception of success, justice, and morality. Celebrity culture has evolved to the point where certain public figures are elevated to near godlike status, creating a phenomenon known as celebrity worship. Research in psychology and sociology has shown that this elevation can have serious effects on both society and the individuals themselves. Celebrities are often seen as icons of perfection, wealth, and success, leading to an obsessive following by fans who seek to emulate their lifestyles or derive self-worth from their admiration. This phenomenon creates a parasocial relationship where fans feel an emotional connection to a celebrity who does not reciprocate, often leading to this idolization of people who are increasingly removed from accountability or ethical behavior. Hollywood has long been a place where power consolidates, and individuals like Harvey Weinstein and Orson Welles exemplify the dark side of this dynamic. Harvey Weinstein, once one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood, used his status to manipulate and exploit young actresses, perpetuating abuse for decades because his power made him seemingly untouchable. The sheer extent of his influence was not just in his professional connection, but in the way the industry enabled his behavior by staying silent, reinforcing a culture of complicity. On the other hand, Orson Welles, despite being a brilliant filmmaker, faced blacklisting after his critically acclaimed film Citizen Kane, which criticized William Randolph Hearst. Hearst used his media empire to suppress Welles' career, illustrating how power can also be used to stifle creativity and limit opportunities for those who dare to challenge the status quo. These examples show how power in Hollywood can lead to corruption, exploitation, and the manipulation of public narratives, with devastating consequences for individuals on both ends of the spectrum. But why do we, as a society, put these individuals on a pedestal? And what does it say about us? We tend to put celebrities on a pedestal because they represent ideals that many aspire to: fame, wealth, talent, and influence. Psychologically, social comparison theory suggests that people evaluate their own lives in relation to others, and celebrities often represent an idealized version of success that serves as a benchmark. Admiring these figures is a way to momentarily feel closer to these unattainable goals. Culturally, celebrity worship is driven by the media, which amplifies the importance of stars by constantly showcasing their lives, making them appear larger than life. This reverence reveals much about society's values, as we prioritize fame, beauty, and material success over integrity. This reflects a hunger for escapism and aspiration, but also exposes a collective tendency to overlook the flaws of those we idolize. The concept that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely was famously articulated by Lord Acton and has been a focal point in philosophical discussions on authority and ethics. Friedrich Nietzsche explored the corrupting influence of power through his concept of the will to power, suggesting that individuals are driven by a fundamental desire to assert dominance, often leading them to abandon moral constraints in the pursuit of greater control. those in positions of unchecked authority are likely to exploit and dominate others, particularly when they are not held accountable. Hannah Arendt, on the other hand, examined power in the context of totalitarianism, arguing that when individuals or regimes hold absolute power, they not only corrupt themselves but create systems that dehumanize others. Arendt believed that power without accountability leads to violence and oppression, as those in authority begin to view others as mere instruments to achieve their ends. In both perspectives, power unchecked becomes a mechanism of moral decay, where individuals or systems prioritize their interests above ethical concerns, leading to widespread harm. Stanley Kubrick used his directorial power in ways that pushed boundaries, particularly with actors like Shelley Duvall during the filming of The Shining. Kubrick's obsessive pursuit of perfection led him to emotionally and mentally exhaust Duvall, demanding hundreds of takes and forcing her into a state of isolation and distress. Power was used not just to create art, but to assert dominance and control over others, revealing the darker side of creative authority in Hollywood. These examples show how figures in positions of influence can exploit those beneath them, whether through career manipulation or emotional abuse, illustrating the dangers of unchecked power in the entertainment industry. But is it possible to remain moral and ethical when society gives you unchecked power? When society grants an individual unchecked power, remaining moral and ethical becomes an immense challenge, though not entirely impossible. Power, by its nature, tends to isolate individuals from the consequences of their actions, often leading to moral disengagement. However, ethical frameworks like Kantian ethics propose that individuals have a moral duty to treat others as ends in themselves, not means to an end, regardless of their power. In theory, one could remain moral with unchecked power by consciously adhering to a strong ethical code, but history and philosophy suggest that without accountability, most individuals are susceptible to moral corruption. Celebrity culture, particularly in Hollywood, elevates public figures to godlike status, creating a phenomenon that deeply affects both society and the celebrities themselves. Sociologically, celebrity worship leads to the formation of parasocial relationships, where fans feel an emotional connection with a celebrity despite the relationship being one-sided. Research has shown that intense celebrity worship is associated with psychological issues such as depression, low self-esteem, and anxiety, especially among individuals who base their self-worth on external validation from these stars. For the stars, this worship isolates them from criticism, leading to a loss of self-awareness and inflated egos, often resulting in destructive behaviors. This dynamic reveals society's fascination with fame and its collective tendency to overlook moral and ethical transgressions in favor of glamour and success. When Hollywood celebrates power and ignores accountability, it impacts how society views justice, success, and morality. The industry's tendency to shield powerful individuals from consequences, as seen in cases involving figures like Bill Cosby, creates a narrative that success and influence can insulate individuals from moral judgment. This adds to a cultural acceptance of unethical behavior when associated with fame, subtly reinforcing the idea that rules don't apply to those in positions of power. It distorts societal views of justice, leading people to question whether the legal and moral systems apply equally to all individuals. Furthermore, the celebration of wealth and fame without regard to how they are achieved promotes a materialistic and success-driven culture where integrity takes a backseat to achievement. As a result, the societal moral compass becomes skewed, creating a dangerous precedent where power is synonymous with impunity. Existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre posited that individuals are responsible for defining their essence through choices and actions, yet those elevated to untouchable levels of power often lose touch with this freedom. Sartre argued that when one is insulated from the consequences of their actions, they fall into bad faith, a form of self-deception where they no longer recognize their role in shaping reality. Celebrities in Hollywood, isolated by wealth, influence, and public adoration, often disconnect from the authentic self and the moral world, leading to a distortion of reality. Sartre would suggest that this detachment is a form of alienation, where power ultimately blinds individuals to their own moral responsibilities. Hollywood power can be incredibly ephemeral. The same system that elevates stars to astronomical heights can just as quickly discard them once they no longer fit into the industry's narrow standards of value, particularly beauty, youth, and marketability. For instance, aging stars, particularly women, often find themselves sidelined as their physical appearance no longer fits Hollywood's idealized vision of beauty. Actresses who were once in demand for leading roles can find opportunities rapidly drying up as younger, fresher faces take their place, reducing their perceived market value. The rapid downfall of individuals like Kevin Spacey illustrates how quickly Hollywood can turn on its most powerful figures once their influence wanes. Kevin Spacey, once celebrated for his acting talents, faced a sudden fall from grace when allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced. His power and success had shielded him for years, but when public opinion shifted, he was swiftly blacklisted and his career crumbled. Similarly, for actors and directors, a single box office bomb can spell career disaster. A film that fails financially often leads to directors being labeled as unbankable, and actors can find their marketability plummet overnight. Directors like M. Night Shyamalan, who was once a celebrated visionary after The Sixth Sense, faced a significant career downturn after a series of critically panned films, forcing him to rebuild his reputation over time. But what does it mean for society when we tear down the very people we've once idolized? When it happens, it reveals a complex relationship between admiration, accountability, and disillusionment. The public often places celebrities on pedestals, projecting onto them ideals of perfection, success, and moral integrity. However, when these stars inevitably fail to live up to these impossible standards, society quickly shifts from adulation to condemnation in what we call cancel culture. This process serves as a form of catharsis, where tearing down the once adored figures can be seen as an attempt to restore justice or balance. This cycle, however, speaks to a broader issue: the way we dehumanize celebrities, reducing them to symbols of success or failure rather than seeing them as flawed individuals. By tearing them down, society grapples with its own disappointment and the consequences of elevating individuals to unrealistic, godlike status. But what can society do to change this scenario? The Me Too movement, which gained global attention in 2017, marked a pivotal shift in how Hollywood addresses power dynamics, accountability, and abuse. It began as a platform for survivors of sexual harassment and assault to share their stories, but it quickly evolved into a broader cultural movement challenging the entrenched power structures in the entertainment industry. Me Too challenged the silence and complicity that had protected abusers for decades, demanding accountability not just from the perpetrators but from the entire system that allowed such behavior to flourish. Hollywood was forced to confront its toxic power dynamics, leading to a broader conversation about consent, representation, and equity. Movements like Time's Up further solidified these demands, calling for industry-wide reforms and long overdue protections for vulnerable workers. This cultural shift has brought greater awareness to how unchecked power leads to exploitation, pushing Hollywood toward more transparency and accountability. To ensure that Hollywood's power structures don't replicate the same patterns of abuse, a more ethical approach to fame and influence should be embraced. Philosophically, this means redefining power not as dominance or control, but as responsibility. Kant's moral philosophy, particularly his notion that individuals should be treated as ends in themselves, offers a valuable framework for approaching power ethically. Additionally, Nietzsche warned of the dangers of power without self-awareness or accountability, suggesting that unchecked authority can easily lead to corruption and exploitation. To prevent the repetition of past abuses, Hollywood needs to establish systems of accountability, where power is regularly scrutinized and those who hold it are responsible for their actions. As a society, we must also reconsider how we idolize figures in entertainment, ensuring that our admiration does not excuse unethical behavior or blind us to abuses of power. Now that we've explored the darker side of fame and the corrupting power dynamics in Hollywood, it's time for all of us to reflect on our role in this cycle. As the audience, we hold a unique power to demand accountability from the industry. We can choose to support ethical practices, advocate for more transparency, and challenge the systems that protect abusers. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the intersection of philosophy, society, and pop culture. Let's keep the conversation going. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'd love to hear your perspective on how power influences the world of entertainment. Until next time.